Sales going the places you know you can go and doing the things you know you can do. Now, we don't see this clubhouse divider with a stage on top and an audience down below. No. Instead, we look at this as the world's largest breakfast table. It's full of motivation, education, inspiration, and even a friendly competition with the positive intention of pushing your momentum in the right direction. Now, listen, if you ever miss a segment, you can go download the Who You Know Show podcast, subscribe, and listen anytime. So head on over to whoyouknow.show, grab the link, and subscribe. Well, I'm super excited because today we've got Cody Schneider, co-founder of Swell AI and Drafthorse AI. With over a decade of experience in digital marketing and startup growth, Cody has spearheaded initiative strategies that leverage AI to drive rapid business growth and streamline content production. Something I know I can use, okay? And on this episode, we're going to dive into the role of AI into content marketing, strategies for scaling businesses with AI-driven solutions, and the future landscape of AI in entrepreneurship. So, guys, I'm super excited. Cody, welcome to the stage, my man. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, again, kind of backstage, we were talking, and as a business owner, right, you got to use this content stuff, and it's just, if you're not online and you're not marketing yourself and you're not positioning your brand and all that kind of stuff, you're really missing out. And so I'm excited you're here because I personally, use a lot of these tools and stuff like that. So I'm like, I know this is the guy that's the expert who can really help, maybe even make my life a little bit easier. So I'm really excited to have you here with us. But let's go back just a moment. And let's talk about the inspiration. Where did it start from? You founding, Swell AI and Drafthorse AI, and can you maybe tell us the difference between, the two companies and what you got going on there?
Yeah. So really, this originated. I was working at a company called Rupa Health. I was hired as employee 6 there, and ended up helping take that company from a $20 million valuation to a $110 million valuation in about 6 months.
What?
Yeah. So it was wild. Basically, what we realized is that our target customers were physicians, they were doctors. We were selling basically a marketplace for lab tests. And what we found really early on was it was going to be incredibly hard to market to them naturally. Anybody that has more money gets marketed to more often because they have more disposable income. And so we needed to create some type of media arm of the company so that we could basically get in front of them and provide entertainment and education, which creates inbound for our business. And so ended up scaling up a team there. By the time I left that company, it was probably around 20 to 25 people that were running, different parts of the business or different parts of the content marketing part of the company. So what we found, though, the easiest ways to do this is make a long form piece of content and chop it up into all of these bite-sized pieces for all the places that you're trying to do distribution to. So whether that's social media or your blog or, LinkedIn posts, etc. And as these AI tools started to come to the forefront, we realized there was this perfect opportunity to basically, again, take these long form interviews and then turn those into these kind of viral moments that we could put everywhere. And so when I'm starting to talk to, especially small business owners, what we're seeing, there's kind of 2 trends that are happening. Like, one, people are trusting search and Google less and less because the content that's kind of on there is not as valuable as it was previously. There's not really that as much trust built into it. I mean, when you think about, like, if I search HVAC solution or, something in my local area, most of those results are just going to be like a nameless, faceless blog from, some marketer somewhere. And that's, trying to sell you basically on this company that maybe isn't actually that good. But in contrast, like what we're actually seeing start to happen is for a lot of consumers where they're going to start their search experience and discover companies or discover products is on social media. Like they go straight to TikTok or Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts and they search bars in XYZ neighborhood, right? And then they look through those results. And when you think about kind of what's going on there, as a consumer, I have a lot more trust for this random person that I'm like that face that I'm seeing like there's a repercussion if John tells me that this bar's good and then I go there and it's terrible, right? But if it's just a random blog post that's on the internet, there's no social repercussions if I get bad information. So anyways, that's kind of the higher level trends that we're seeing happen, and how we see kind of AI fitting into this. Is how am I going to make this content engine for my business so that we can just, basically create on a daily basis content for all the channels that we see customers coming in through.
So let's talk about that for a second, because that's actually the model that I use personally. And so I'm glad to hear that. Right. So long form content, it's actually, it's the Gary V model, right? Like I remember he came out with a piece of content. It was like how to create 84 pieces of content in, I can't remember, in 24 hours or something like that. Like how to just create a content machine. Right. And basically strategy is, long form, video, and extracting all of the content from that. And so I personally use that. That's actually why I do this podcast, right? Out of this podcast, we can clip out 1 million little clips. You can turn it into articles. You could turn it into a blog. You could turn it into captions. And there's a lot of tools for these things. And I'm noticing the tools are just getting better and better and better. Like right now we're recording in Riverside. This is being recorded in Riverside. And Riverside, when I first got it, it didn't do the magic clips. Now it does the magic clips, right? So it'll automatically clip out viral moments. It's not the best one though, I will tell you, right? I'm curious, actually. Let's talk about that. For viral clips, there's a lot of tools now doing that, okay? It's like becoming almost a standard. If your tool doesn't do, clips, like, I'm probably not going to use it. So I know Descript does it. I know Opus Clip does it. I know Riverside does it. Which platform do you think creates the best viral clips from your experience?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think they all kind of do it in a different way from what we've seen. What I would suggest is look for the ones that don't feel like it's just like asking the AI, what's the viral moment in this transcript? Because that output is going to be pretty terrible quality. Opus is probably, I would say, the best. Initially we started out as just like a content writer. We just started introducing like our clip features and basically our audiogram features. So you can do this within Swell now, but how we're doing it based off of what we see to be the most successful. And this was actually a kind of mirror of Opus, was identifying the key takeaways or the insights from a conversation. So saying, hey, list 5 key takeaways or list 5 insights from this episode. Then going and finding hooks for each of those insights. So related to those like top level ideas, and then finding supporting, details basically after that hook. And so then combining those together, we found to be the most effective. So Opus is probably doing the best work from what we've seen, and they're really just focused on the clip making part of this. I think the challenge with all this is like, to take a step back, when you think about most of how these, AI models are trained and really built, they're trained off of the general knowledge of the internet, right? When you think about like the average knowledge of the internet, it's not that, it's average. It's not the top percentile. And so if you want like to make basically like the best clip maker, what's going to happen, and probably will happen in the next like 1 to 2 years, I'm guessing, is somebody's going to go and they'll train a model based off of the top performing clips, like only the viral moments that have happened. And then that will be like its foundational starting point, so that when it goes and it makes this new content, then it already knows like, oh, these things went viral on these platforms. There's a stronger likelihood, like they had these things in common. So now let's go find more moments like that from your back catalog, and then we can surface it up. And so that's where we see this all headed.
That's strong. See, I'm ready for that platform. Shoot, let me talk about 100%. That. Like imagine that. Imagine you get in here and you do your interview, okay? And then the platform uses AI to just automate the whole process from that point forward, where next thing you know, it's extracting those viral clips, it's testing, it's doing all the work, it's posting, it's doing the captions, it's putting all the words out, like it's doing everything from that point forward. And I think it can get there. I mean, we're getting pretty dang close.
Definitely,
right?
And I think I think the big thing with this for most people, they're like, hey, this still doesn't do it all the way. It's not 100% of the way they're done, but it's 80% of the way there, right? So
It's
as a business
so
owner,
yeah.
right, it's like that's the mindset to bring into this whole thing is like,
Mhm.
it's traditionally, like, I wasn't even doing this because it would take so much time.
Oh my
But
gosh.
now, if it can get me right to that final, that final yard line, and I just have to kind of take it to that final phase, and that's the opportunity that exists at this moment.
1000. So like for me as a content creator, I got started doing podcasting January of 2018, right? So I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm going to tell you, like, it's getting so much easier. Like it's getting super, super easy to create that content machine that we all desire, that Gary Vee model, right? It's getting so much easier, which is also a double-edged sword, because I feel, and talk to me about this. I want to hear your thoughts. I feel like if we get to that point where content is just stupid easy to do, meaning you get behind this thing and it just does the rest, like I feel that it's going to become saturated, and it already is. We're already, social media, it's already saturated, right? So it's going to be harder and harder and harder and harder to stand out, right? Once people really start to pick up, and I think the podcasting market, we saw it in the pandemic, right? The podcasting market blew up. And I think once people really figure out that this is not that hard and the AI is going to do the rest, I'm a little bit worried actually that, like, again, to stand out, what are you going to do then to be different? I mean, obviously your message is important, what your content itself, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, at the end of the day, it always comes down to like who has the most unique story to tell that's the most
Hmm.
interesting.
Yep.
So like expertise is going to become more valuable than ever
Mm.
before.
Yep.
And just to talk about like the different ways to like kind of use these AI tools, there's like two paths we see forward right now. And the majority of people I've interacted with just single one, like the first one that I'm going to talk about. So the first one is when you use just the general knowledge of this AI, right? So if I, write me an article about hotel marketing ideas or something like that, right? It's gonna or strategies for hotel marketing in 2024. The output it's going to give me is going to be pretty lackluster and like not interesting. But in contrast, if I go and I interview 5 hotel marketing experts and I take those transcripts and I use that as
Mm.
my source material, and then I'm like, okay, AI, like, write me an article, the same prompts, but based off the source material. The output that I'm going to get is going to be so much better than just the general knowledge, right? And so when we take that and we apply that to our business, like you as an expert, like you have to basically capture your knowledge, your ideas that only you have access to, and your company knows, and then take that and put that out in front of, your audience basically. And this is different for every type of company, like whether you're B2B or B2C, like it's different kind of, it's the same play, but at different levels. I think the biggest thing to remember is that that's going to be the only way to differentiate yourself long term. Because like right now, I can go write an article for like nothing, right? Like
Right.
like I can write 1,000-word article for 10 cents, right? That same article used to cost me $100 if I wanted to get that written by like an offshore person, right? And have a quality that was actually usable for my business.
1000. Like I'm telling you, just a couple years ago. I mean, this is still very fresh and new, right? Just a couple years ago, I remember paying freelance copywriters off of Upwork to write articles and different things like that. And yeah, you're right. I mean, like, it's crazy. It totally put them out of business. You see what I'm saying? Well, maybe not to put, they're actually using the tools, but man,
I think there's so much business opportunity with this though. Like
mhm.
when I look at these tools, like you now can make, you can take a 10x person and make them a 100x person when you put the, you augment them with these things. And so then for example, I have some friends that are building like agencies, like productized service agencies. Like for example, one of them's in the SEO space, and they do like basically search engine optimization for like e-commerce stores. And historically, like if you wanted to hire a company to do what they are doing, I mean, it's 50 grand a month. That's like the base price, right? And now they're coming in and they can do, exactly what they were doing previously for like 5 grand a month, because all of their processes are as automated as possible with these tools. And, that now is like, you're just seeing this like increase in efficiency. And then also like two things, as a business owner, you have access now to, like, instead of 50 grand, it's $5,000. That's way more approachable.
Right.
And the other piece of it is like, okay, I can go and I can build a company on the backs of these things, or just look at what my company's currently doing, which is kind of my, when you leave today, this is the only thing I hope you take with you, is like, audit your current processes, figure out what part of these can I automate away with AI tools. And then how do I build these workflows to basically, create as much efficiency within my company as possible. And that's really the kind of the moment that we're in with this. The thing that I'm seeing people get hung up on is they're trying to like change their whole organization, or like restructure, and like, you're going to drop the ball doing that. I guarantee it. I've watched people do this over the last, 2 years. What's really we're seeing be the most effective again, is just focusing on, okay, I'm doing XYZ thing. If I can automate away, 30% of that, and then allow my team to again go and focus on the more human parts of this. And a concrete example of this is like, say you're in the real estate space, a lot of paper pushing, but tons of sales also needed as well. If I can automate away that paperwork as much as possible, so that my team can just focus on the human part of that business, which is talking to people, getting into a relationship with them, like, you're going to make a way more, powerful and strong organization, and just a more stable organization as well. So anyway.
No, that's so good. I mean, you're absolutely right. Anytime you can make your business more efficient, it's like, think of the Amazon model, right? Like, that's the way I look at it. I'm always constantly looking at, hey, what can we do to improve and make this thing more efficient, so I can create the Amazon experience for financial services to help people, get the help that they need. But it doesn't have to be this like pain, right? Like I always tell people, financial services, it's like going to the dentist, right? And people don't want to do it in the first place. They're not jumping up and down like to have these conversations with me. Right. It's just not the way it works. Like, matter of fact, a lot of the conversations are very personal. People don't talk about money and things like that. So like people aren't jumping up and down to have this conversation. So I'm trying to make it as easy, as smooth, as simple, as streamlined, as painless, as quick, as efficient, like the Amazon experience. So people are, and not transactional. I still want the relationship, right? I'm not trying to create transactional, but I'm trying to make it smooth and easy, efficient, so that people are like, wow, when they get through with it, they're like, man, that wasn't that bad, actually, right? Like, that wasn't, you know what I mean? Like, when you go to the dentist and you go to a good dentist, you don't want to go, but if they're good, when you leave, you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad, right?
100%. I mean, I think that just comes down, like, everybody wants to be like taken care of. And like, we talk about business, like it's the idea and it's all these things. And in reality, at the end of the day, like, what is a business? It's really providing service to other people. And so if you can create that service experience where they walk away and they're like, oh, I had a great experience.
Yep.
Like, that turns into word of mouth, that turns into natural growth. And so I think that's like one of the most critical things, is really what you're selling at the end of the day. A lot of the times isn't as important as like it is the experience that they're having with buying this thing. And that experience can be multiple like components, right? It can be like, were they taken care of? Are you selling them something that, for most people, it comes down to like, why do you make a purchasing decision, right? It's like, either it saves me time, it saves me money, or it gives me status in my community, right? So if you're selling them one of those things, like, that's also providing them service. Like, you're selling them back like their time, you're saving them money, or you're like giving them more status within their community,
or maybe making them feel good.
Yeah,
that's another one.
Exactly.
So making it feel good would be like, if I go to a comedy show, right? I'm buying the tickets to the comedy show because I want to feel good, right? Or I'm going to the Cowboys game or something like that. You know what I mean? I want to feel good. So that's another one. But that's good that's a good little nugget right there too, is what are people's motivations to do business with you? You have to think about that, like reverse engineer it. Like, what is their actual motivation to even get help from you? So you said saving time, saving money, or maybe making money, entertainment, right? What was the other one you said?
I said like status. So like think
Status,
like
yeah.
luxury goods or like how
Correct.
they
Yep.
look to other people, right?
Gucci.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Whatever
yeah.
that ends
Because
up being.
like I don't care. Like I'm gonna tell you right now, like that's one that doesn't do anything for me. I really don't care
And
about.
everyone's different. And I think
Yeah.
that's the thing too, is like when you're thinking about your customer, it's like meeting them where they are, right? Like some
Mm-hmm.
people value time saving more than anything else. Some
Yep.
people value money saving more than anything else. It could be combinations of these things too, like time and money or, different components. But I think at the
Yeah,
end of the day,
yeah, you're right. That people's motivation is different. Because I grew up, the reason why that whole status thing, the car, all the Lambo and all like that doesn't zero for me. Matter of fact, I look at it, I look down on it because I come from very humble beginnings. I grew up in poverty and like didn't have any money. Like it was rough for me growing up. A lot of times we didn't have water and lights and food and stuff, so it was pretty rough. But now I look at when I see something like a Lambo or something, I'm like, man, you know what you could actually do with that money? Like that's where my head goes. Like I look at the values, I see no value in the flash, right? Like so anyway, but other people do, right? Some people see value in the flash and because it gives them status or what have you. Now I was
some
talking,
people, it gives them joy too. Like this is
yeah,
something I'm trying to like come to terms with for like, for some people that is kind of this, it's like a way to create contentment for them.
yeah,
I personally, I'm looking at it, and this is something that I'm trying to get better at is like, okay, I take that 100 grand, I put it into, the S&P or the ETF or, anything that gives
something
me a
to,
return. This is
yeah.
what it turns into 20 years from now. Right.
Well, and
But
I will say, like, I was talking with one woman one time that she's a really successful, 7-figure real estate agent, right? I mean, she crushes it. She does really, really well in her real estate business, right? And so, and she has a different mindset around all that flash. Okay, like she's buying all the Valentinos, she's flying private jets, this, that, and the other, and doing all this kind of stuff, and like living a very luxurious lifestyle, right? And her mindset is like, not only does she deserve it, right, but it pushes her to do more. Like it pushes her production. And also she was going into it as far as like the types of people that she's around, right? The high-end client, the affluent clients that she's around, like it's almost an expectation. And so I did think about it from a different lens. She gave me a perspective that I didn't really think of, right? Like, and I was like, okay, cool. If you're in these rooms, there's some rooms where you got to look the part, man. You got to walk in there, you know what I'm saying?
Like if your
You,
lawyer isn't in a good suit and like
yeah,
you're talking to the judge, like how I
yeah,
think there's a lot of perception that's built into those things.
uh-huh, yep,
And it's using, all these tools are different tools within our tool belt, right?
uh-huh,
Like
yep,
a lot of the times I feel like we get hung up on like, oh, this is the right way to do this. This is the right way to make a business. This is the right way to like have all of these things. And in reality, there's different like you can get to the same goal with all these different paths. It's just figuring out, okay, what is the way that I want to do it?
100%.
What's the easiest way to do it? What's that path of least resistance? That's typically what I'm looking for anymore, especially in business.
Work smart, not hard, right?
Exactly.
1,000. And that's AI for you right there. Work smart, not hard. Okay. So speaking of that and tools, there's something, I've seen, and I've seen the popularity of it become more and more. And I'm curious, I haven't actually done one yet, and I need to just experiment with it, but maybe you can talk to me about the AI videos, right? Where I'm going to basically clone myself on video and then upload, I guess, a script or what have you. And like, they're pretty freaking realistic, man. I've seen some, and that gets a little scary too, but talk to me about that. Have you experimented with those? How do they perform? Where do you see that going? Like, is there even going to be a time, like right now I'm on camera with you, is that even going to be a thing 5 years from now?
That's a great question. I think the bigger thing that we're kind of seeing start to happen is like the cost of all of this is going down so dramatically that like in person is going to become a luxury, or like talking to a human, for like customer service in particular, like that is going to become like a luxury good.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. I like that
Because
because I like in person. So
totally,
if it's a luxury to speak to me in person, let's go. I get paid more and I get to do what I enjoy more.
totally. And so I think that is where this is going to happen. I mean, with all these things, it's so nascent that you know, we've experimented with everything that is out there probably at this point, right? Like we've been doing this for almost 2 years at this point. So the thing that we're seeing is that for a lot of these, they're almost there, but it's not like we're not, it's not all the way. There's also just these human elements, like it's funny, even the voice models, like they're starting to train them now so that you hear like breathing. So like they're like during them speaking, it's like you can hear that breath in happening, even though this is like an AI generated voice that's reading off a script, right?
Right.
But that's actually, those are the things they're starting to think about.
They're adding in the imperfection.
Yeah.
The imperfection, which is that's so important. It's actually,
I don't think this will change though. Like I just think about it from a sales perspective, like, like a BD, like a business development rep who's doing reach out and that type of thing. I think that like right now we're watching it get automated away. It's wild. But like you're going to have account, executive or account rep, and it's still going to be a person that's jumping on that phone call. That's like meeting, that customer where they are, that's uncovering that knowledge. Cause I think those parts of it, like people want to buy from people. I think that, at the end of the day, we have trust built into like a conversation like this that is in person, face to face, like that's going to be so much more valuable like in building those relationships than anything else that you can do. And if your AI clone shows up to a sales call, like you're going to have less trust in that company. Right?
Well, hold on though. Hold on. Cause I just had a thought as we were saying this. I'm like envisioning the future. And I just had a thought as we were talking about this. Imagine, right? Like this call right now that we're on. Okay. And it's your AI clone that knows your business, knows everything. Like it's cloned, dude. It's your AI clone, and it's my AI clone, and it's two AI clones having a conversation together. Like, and let's just say, for instance, I want to buy a car or something. I send my AI clone to do it. Everybody you've always said you want to clone yourself. You send your AI clone to communicate with the dealership, negotiate the deal, buy the car. Like, I mean, dude, this is crazy stuff.
I think that's an inevitability, especially on that. And like as a consumer, like what it's probably going to turn into is you get more efficient, like in your ability to like get deals, right? Like it's like, okay, if this thing is like negotiating, imagine it, it emails the 30 dealerships in your area and it's like, hey, I'm trying to get a, Chevy 2500, right? Like this is the, the package I'm looking for. Here's the years, here's the miles. And then it negotiates against all of these like other, dealerships for you.
Yep.
Like, that right now is totally doable. Like, again, this is like something that will probably be built within the next couple of years.
It's scary.
But at the end of the day, like when you're like, okay, I'm doing a business deal, or
right.
I'm doing something that's more long-term relationship based. Like if we're going to be in business for the next 5 years or whatever that ends up being, I'm going to decide off of, do I like that person? Do I connect with them?
Yep.
And do I, are they going to help us succeed? And like, are they in my corner, right? Like, are they going to provide me the service at the quality that I expect?
Yeah. I want to see you in person, and I want to like you're real, you know what I mean?
Totally.
Like this is a real person. Cause at a certain point, once it gets too good, you won't even know. I mean, some of these images and stuff that they're making, like I saw some, because we're in the election year and stuff like that. Okay. I've seen some of these AI images of like Trump and Biden, and like, it's insane what they can do with this stuff, man. And yeah, it's a little scary in some ways. It's a little scary. Okay, talk to me about that. What are your thoughts on regulation for this? Because a lot of people, you hear like Elon Musk and stuff like that, he's like saying, yo, we need to slow the roll a little bit. There needs to be some guardrails for this, because this could get out of hand. It could get a little crazy. And I think the pace at which technology is moving right now is so fast that, man, it's almost hard to, even as a person like myself who's quick on his feet, it's almost hard to keep up with everything because it goes so fast. So, I mean, what are your thoughts around regulation, things like that?
Yeah, I think on the regulation piece, how I think about it is like, one, the cat's kind of out of the bag at this point. I mean, you have like Meta, right? One of the biggest you know, companies in the world at this point, basically releasing these models open source. All you need is compute, and you can run them, you know, without basically without any guardrails. It's like, that's number one. I think they're intentionally doing that because they don't want these companies to go after regulation capture like Microsoft or, you know, OpenAI or any of these other companies. Like, basically go and lobby the government and say, hey, we figured this stuff out. Now close the door behind us, right? We don't want anybody else coming in to like mess up our market share.
Right.
On a personal level, I think what's going to happen is this data privacy thing. I think we're going to start to look at like, okay, this sounds crazy, but like, is my biology, like how I look, and also like my DNA and all these other components of self, like, is that something I own when I'm born in the US on US soil?
So your likeness,
exactly,
absolutely.
exactly.
I was just talking about that the other day, like, because, yeah, I mean, with these tools now, somebody could take, I mean, especially a person like me who's, I'm very visible online. I got all the social media content going, all these videos and posts and pictures and blah, 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 right? You got all this stuff. So somebody could take that, and they've got a ample supply of data that they could input into a model to create a clone Trevor to be doing who knows, God knows
Call
what.
your grandma and be like, hey, I need 10 grand or whatever.
Yeah, they got my voice, right? They have they could send a video that would look just like me to, so cloning my likeness, like, for scammers. You know what I'm talking about? Oh my God, I could see where like that could get out of hand. And I've already seen some of this stuff where celebrities, they're attacking celebrities and creating like pornography and all kinds of just crazy stuff, man, they're doing with this. So
totally.
there's got to be
in the music industry, and like, this is a huge problem they're seeing where it's like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, just crazy stuff it's happening on Facebook a lot because there's just like an older, generation. But they are like sending videos from, imagine like a music artist that you like that's in the country music space, and then like making a video that looks like he's at talking to them like he's, it's like him to a fan. And then,
Yeah.
I mean, this is a problem. We're like working with this company right now to help them try to figure out how to basically shut these accounts down. But basically they're like extorting money out of these people or getting money out of these people because they think they're talking to this actual artist, right? But in reality, it's just this like digital version of that. So
I've heard, and I don't know too much about it, but I've just kind of seen and heard, what is it? Drake and Kendrick Lamar. I guess they're having some kind of beef or whatever. I don't follow that stuff, but I've just kind of seen it. So I guess they're having some kind of beef. I don't know what it's all about, but they're doing these clapbacks songs or whatever. And these clapback songs are like, apparently I've heard that a lot of them are AI. Like, they're not even them. It's just like they've already cloned it. They've already got AI involved to do these clapback songs. Yeah, have you heard anything about that? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, we know this company that's super new, that basically it's just voice cloning. And the crazy part is you hypothetically could like make songs off an artist indefinitely into the future. So imagine you're like, okay, you want to Michael Jackson or Tupac or whatever, right? You could basically like clone that voice. You have an artist come in and they sing that like song.
Oh, somebody needs to bring back Tupac. Come on, resurrection. Let's go, Tupac. Exactly. Let's go.
But what the AI is then doing is it's basically taking that like source, like person's audio, and then like modulating or changing it so that it sounds like that original person, right? So like, again, you could these artists could live on for forever and be releasing music, on under their likeness, for until the end of time. And so I
love that.
think,
I love that you said "till the end of time" because that was one of Tupac's songs. Okay, they need to, and another one was "Resurrection." One of his, I'm a huge Tupac fan. So anyway, they need to bring that back. That would be so cool. That would be so cool. And they did a hologram of him, and it was pretty cool. They would do a concert with him, right?
Totally.
And with this hologram. Ooh, see, okay, all of this stuff gets me thinking about, and I remember thinking this during the pandemic. So Meta became the thing during the pandemic and all of that, right? It went from Facebook to Meta, and they're going into, the what do you call it? The headsets, the VRs and all of that, right? This gets me thinking of the Matrix, right? Where you're plugged in, right? And you're in this false reality, but you're able to download, like if I want to learn karate, boom, I download it, right? Whatever I want, it's downloadable. And you're in this matrix, you got your headset on, and it's kind of crazy. It's almost like that's what we're trying to go for. Like that's the world. Like they want us to live in the meta universe and all this kind of stuff. Like, dude, at what point is enough?
I think there's pushback happening like already. Like you're already starting to see, like, especially younger generations just not be online because they realize it's like, this is just cesspool. Like I'm just I'm stuck here doom scrolling and this is terrible for my mental health type of thing. So I think that's a component of it. Another piece with all of this is like, I think there's just regulation that's imminent. Like you're already seeing it with this like TikTok ban. If they can if they can do this, like there's going to be other pieces where it's like, if you're under 16, you can't be on these platforms.
Let's talk about the TikTok ban. That's another one that's kind of trending right now. So, I know it's a lot about the data and the security and things like that. Like I'm not following it too much. I just hear a little bit about it. I'm sure you're probably following it more than I am. What are your thoughts on that? And where do you see that going?
Yeah. I think this is one of those tricky ones. Like I don't know enough about it probably to be an expert on it. My whole take is like, I think when you look at larger social, like they're trying to keep you on platform as much as possible for as long as possible. Right? Yep. That's how they make money. Like the more attention they have. And this kind of comes back to that creator side. Like, if you're a business owner, like how can you tap into that algorithm? Like if we know that they're trying to keep people on the platform as much as possible, then like your goal is basically, okay, how do I make content that is going to help this, whether it's Facebook or YouTube or whatever, help keep these people on this platform for longer. And it's like, what's going to happen is then Instagram rewards me by I get more reach on that platform because I'm entertaining those people and keeping them there. So I think with that, like that understanding kind of how these companies function, like helps us kind of assess what's the larger social impact of it. Like if their goal is to have as much of your attention throughout the day as possible. And like, you can go see this, right? Like go look at your phone screen time, right? And, you're going to,
well, let's talk about that. So the algorithms of these platforms, you're right. They want to keep you there. They're going to reward you if you stay there, if you're engaging with your community, engaging with your, comments and followers and all this kind of stuff, right? They reward you for that with more reach. So, as a business owner, we ain't got time for all of that, bro. I ain't got time to be behind the screen commenting back and right. And I know my community wants that, and everybody wants that. I get you, okay. But I got business to run. I got things to do, okay. And plus, that's not the way I want to live my life behind the screen, okay. So, what are your thoughts on AI or even virtual assistants and things like that to help you to continue that? Because otherwise, your content's not going to get a lot of reach because you're almost doing this post and ghost scenario, right? You're posting and just disappearing, and people comment and you don't respond back to them and things like that. But again, as a business owner, I ain't got time to be sitting there behind a screen all day long, right? So what do you what do you coach people or help people with that? You know, how do you work with that?
Yeah, I think again, so my whole thing is if I can sit down for an hour a week and I can make all the content I need for that whole week,
Mm-hmm.
and I chop that up into clips, I schedule that out to all of my social media channels, like with a social media scheduler, and then it's auto publishing those.
Mm-hmm.
And then over the top of that, I can then come in and I say, okay, maybe I have a virtual assistant. And they go and they answer comments or those types of things, right? The challenge we've seen is it's like hard to get a person to have your own tone of voice and like actually know that response. The more and more what I'm seeing as being the most impactful thing you can do is just get more content out into the public, right? So
Volume.
thinking about these algorithms again, like with all these social media channels, they're trying to keep people on platform as much as possible. And what they found is the way to do that is what they call For You page content, right? So it's basically TikTok pioneered this, but it's this idea that like, I'm just going to show you content from people that you don't even know. And we know that you're going to like it based off of previous things that you watched, right? So like as this time goes on, these platforms start to understand you better and better, and they know the types of things that are most likely to keep you present. And so with that in mind, then if you're just putting out more and more content on these platforms, you're just increasing the surface area or the likelihood that you have a viral moment on any of these places, because it's just showing that content to whoever it thinks will like be the most engaged with it. And so then that is probably going to be more impactful for your business rather than, you're in the comment section, going back and forth with people. I think it's going to be more like, okay, how do I, post daily, post twice daily? How do I give them this entertainment content? That's, and the best content we see is like, it's both entertainment and educational, right? Can it be those two things side by side? And that is what's like probably going to be the most impactful for your business. But I think the big thing though, to take, to try to re-answer that question is like, do something that is sustainable that you can do for the next 2 years. And it's not going to bankrupt your business. It's not going to make you go crazy. It's not going to make you, like
mic drop. I'm going to give you that sustainable, right? Sustainable, consistent. A
lot of the times people, they go for like maybe 30 days. They do this and they're like, oh, well, I guess social doesn't work for my business. And it's like, I mean, you got to be in this for at least 6 to 12 months minimum. Like that's the.
Oh yeah, I've been doing it for years, and so yeah, I totally get like it takes some time, and so I know what you're talking about too, as far as like, putting that that video out there, that reel, that YouTube short, or that TikTok, and like, to me, I almost equate it to like a slot machine. Okay, I got to put the quarter in the machine. I got to pull the lever, and it's like, bah. Okay, cool. Put another quarter in. Bah. Put another quarter in. Bah. One more. Ding, 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 ding. Right, and every once in a while, you're gonna hit that, and it's like, whoa, that one went a little bit crazy. That one went viral. Okay, well now I dissect that post, and it's like, okay, what was it about that one? Right? Why did this go viral? And it's interesting because some will react different on different platforms, right? Obviously, because the audience is a little bit different. Like on LinkedIn, a post will react and go viral for a different reason than it would on maybe YouTube, or Instagram, for instance, right? But some of these platforms too, like LinkedIn, for instance, they don't like if you post too much. So let's just say I was like, hey, I want to really, we were talking about volume, right? I want to put as many quarters in this freaking thing as I can. Just bring, 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 just pull that lever as many times as I can. Well, LinkedIn is not going to do well if I post like 5 times a day. They're just not going to like that. Right. And I don't really get why. Maybe you have some insight into that. Well, why do you think the algorithms don't like that, where you post too much? And is there a secret? Like, is there a 1, 2? Like, what are your thoughts on that as far as how much you can post in a day?
Yeah, so it's really the amount of time on site the average user has, right? So like when you look at LinkedIn, it's less daily time on site than somebody spending on Instagram. So I can like show like they call it like, content fatigue. Like if I get shown too much of the same person over and over again, I actually make a poor experience for that user of that social media as the social media company. Like if you log on, and every time you see the same person and it's
So it's like
10
Grant
posts
Cardone when he emails you.
Yeah,
Five
exactly.
times a day.
Exactly.
Gotta love that
Exactly.
dude. Love that dude. No, he's a marketing genius, but it's like he just like hits that thing so many times.
Totally. And that probably, for what he's trying to do, that probably works, right? Because like the people that are buyer ready, like he has enough of his audience size is large enough that like when he's doing something like that, even if it's only 1% or 0.1% that actually like end up making a purchase, it's enough for him where that and nuking that relationship.
His
is all
right. His followers are like so loyal. Okay, that like for myself, I'm a loyal follower. So even though he blows me up in my inbox 5 times a day or whatever, like I get so many emails, right? Even though he does that, I just delete them. They just get deleted. I don't unsubscribe. Does that make sense? Because one of these days there is going to be something, and it's gonna be right on time, and I'm gonna need it, and it's gonna be the message I need to see that day, right? And I just know it is, so I'm not unsubscribing. I'm just, So I think that's another part of it too. Is you can get away with it. To your point, the bigger you get, right? Like the Gary V, he can put out a ton of content. And people aren't going to they're not going to get turned off by it, I guess. Right. Totally. Is there a certain point that you think that makes sense?
Yeah. I mean, all the data I've seen on email in particular is like the more email you send, the better it does. Like people get worried about like unsubscribes or fatigue. Like everything I've seen is like, as long as the content provides value to the audience you're sending it to, they want it, as much of it as you can give to them as you can get out the door, right? Which is, I think, is like contrast to how a lot of people, because like anecdotally, like we hear these stories, like you just said, like I get 5 emails a day. Like this is the last thing I want is like 5 emails, like just like, and think about that with from 20 different people. But in reality, like all the data shows that you send more emails, you make more money is really what it comes down to.
Well, and I exaggerate a little bit when I say 5. Like he'll send one. But it is one a day.
But still,
like
though, one a day. I mean, that's crazy.
Every day.
Like that's huge. And so, I mean, think about his list size too. He's probably in the millions.
And could you imagine that? Okay, so let's talk about that for a second, because we're just talking about social media and content and all that. Like, what does it take to create an automated email system where you're posting one email of valuable content, not trash, valuable content, every day? Like, that's super powerful. Like, I am impressed. As a matter of fact, that's another reason why I don't unsubscribe, is I'm so impressed by his email. Because, and even in the subject lines, I'm like, how did you know that? How does he know? And maybe you could tell me, how does they know what zip code I'm in and stuff like that? Like, he's able to extract some kind of data. I don't know how he's able to do it, but like, he'll know. It'll be, the subject line will be like, new hot deal in Frisco, Texas, 7503, whatever, Trevor. Like, and it's so specific to me that I'm like, wow, how did you know? You see what I'm saying?
No, totally. Yeah. I mean, so they can do data enrichment is probably what's happening, where it's like you can take an email. Your email address is almost like this, like, tattoo on your arm, right? Of this is everything about you.
All the data.
Is connect, and there's all these brokers that you can basically use to go and buy this. Like in business, like a lot of people use what's called Clearbit, which is just like a
Clearbit.
It's a data broker for basically data enrichment. But there's that component. The other side of it is you can see, okay, if this user, like, so I send them this email and they click even one of the emails in the past, we can see the IP address of where they came from, and then also connect that together. So it's like, okay, cool. They're in this zip code in the US, and we're going to save that within our CRM. And we now have this knowledge about it.
Right. So, but that's gotta be something like, what, I mean, that's a tool, obviously, and I'm sure that's getting better and better and better, and that's why I'm seeing it too, and it's impressive when I see it.
It's
I'm
also
really
it's super expensive though too, right? So like
Mm,
that's like a piece of this is to do data enrichment. Like it's possible, but it's just costly historically. And
mm,
so for him, like what's probably going on is like he's like, yo, we see better performance when we do this have that specificity, and
absolutely
so
targeted.
then totally, and it makes sense too. Like if it's like real estate or whatever, this type of thing, like he is. If you can close one of those deals, that pays for the software himself,
Right.
in a single deal. And so that's like what's going on there. For the average, it's like probably not. Like what's more valuable is just making that, again, what is that content that's going to get your audience like educated or entertained or
Mm.
both? If you can do that, you're going to be, light years ahead of your competition. So
Yeah, that's something I know with email is that it's still a thing. Like people, the email's dead.
oh,
No,
it's
it's
the
not.
best. It is
It's where all purchases are made. Like not all purchases, but a lot of purchases are made in the inbox,
100%.
man. It's like when you're online, the video is going to have you opt into the email, which is going to sell you. Okay, that's what it all
100%.
is. Everything is a hey, free giveaway, download this, that, the other, right? To get you your email, to get in your inbox so that they can keep you on the hook and send you some more value and more value to get you to the close, man. I mean, a lot
1,000%.
of business is done in the inbox. Like,
1,000%.
yeah. So that's one of the areas that I know I need to get a little bit stronger is email automation. And I have some in place, but only certain things. Like I've got like with our podcast. So when a new episode goes live, it automates it, an email that goes out. When a new YouTube video of the podcast goes live, it emails it out automated, right? Because it's connecting to the RSS feeds,
Yep.
and so the RSS feed pushes it out and triggers that automation. But again, it's one of those things where I tell people, like, I'm not the expert in this, right? I'm just not. I'm not the expert in email marketing. Like that's not my thing. So outsourcing and getting a guy that knows that, right? So tell me about your team, your business, Swell AI, Drafthouse AI. Like, what are y'all specialty? What's your specialty? Like, if I'm a client, I need to grow my business. What am I coming specifically to you for? What can you help me with?
Yeah. So Swell AI is like self-service, but basically what we do is we're content repurposing powered by AI. So you give it a long form video, it's going to make clips, blog posts, newsletters. How we see companies using it is, again, like they sit down with industry experts that are know more about a specific thing. Say it's email marketing. They have a
Mm,
conversation with them for 30 minutes, and they've now just created all of the content that they need for their entire business for a whole week.
mm,
And that takes an hour of their time to have basically get that out the door. And so we're like, this is, again, like we're viewing this as, in what we're seeing is more and more the only way for you to be able to differentiate long term is you're going to have to turn your business into a media company. And so I'm
absolutely.
trying to build the tool that is the content marketing engine for your business, right? So
Hmm.
your team can sit on top of this. You have this like process that you go through where it's like, again, just talk to people in your industry. And like, I get asked this all the time. Like I was just on a podcast 2 weeks ago. It was in the building materials, like the shed industry, it's like a multi-billion-dollar industry that nobody talks about. It's like literally sheds. Like,
Interesting. Okay. Cool.
yeah.
Cool. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so they were talking about like basically like that their whole process and marketing strategy is like doing this. But what the feedback they always get is like, oh, well, I don't know what to talk about. Like what I
Mm,
do isn't interesting. But in
mm,
reality, like every person has something interesting to talk about or something they know way deeper or way more than like anybody else, even within the organization. So it's just like capturing those conversations like that
mm,
alone can be the marketing for your, like, again, I'm just thinking about you're a local business, say you're a bakery and you're
mm,
like, yeah, this isn't interesting. We do this on a daily basis. Right. But like, In reality, to the majority of people, they don't see that on a daily basis.
Yep.
So it's something entirely new and novel, right? And the same idea can be applied to your company.
So I love that. It's actually something I would like to implement more of. It's because it's a different style, because I've been doing the podcast marketing forever and ever. And so I think that like switching it up, right? Because this is great. And you're going to see a clip of this, right? And you're going to see two heads talking. All right, cool. And hopefully there's a conversation in there that's viral enough, and, you know, stuff like that, that grab people's attention. But to your point of that behind the scenes type content, right, where you're picking up a conversation, but it's more of a natural in the environment, you know, type of a conversation, not a me and you scheduled this to get together on a Zoom type of a deal, right? Like the behind the scenes type content, those conversations I think can be really good. Like I think of, again, I think of Gary Vee. One of the things that he does that we actually did at our last event, and I really enjoyed it, was at a conference that he'll do, he'll put up like a banner, right? And then, of course, it's Gary Vee. Everybody wants to get a picture with him and stuff like that, right? So he's got a line of people that, you know, I'm sure probably even paid a VIP ticket to do that, right? So, but the bottom line is they're going to go then shake his hand, and he's got a videographer there, and they're going to pick up some conversation. You know, somebody's going to be like, Gary, man, you're awesome. Oh my gosh, I love what you were talking about. Man, you changed my life, man. And he's like, yeah, empathy, or whatever he's going to say, right? He's going to tell him something. And, but those little clips, right? I really enjoy those little clips, because a lot of times he's coaching them right on the spot. You know, a lot of times he's telling them like, hey, you can do it. Or, hey, why haven't you done this? Why haven't you done that? Or, hey, this is what I would do if I were you. You could do it this way, right? So he's almost like giving him some coaching right there. It showcases him in his authority. But again, it's that behind the scenes type content that I think is pretty cool.
Totally.
So what other types would you recommend? Okay, because again, you got podcast marketing. What else for this same concept to take long form to short form? What would you recommend besides podcasting?
Yeah, hard question, just because it's like it's so different depending on what your business is. But like if you're a bakery versus like we do financial services, those are probably two different, entirely different content types that you would make. I think again I would come back to that idea of like what is something that I could do daily, weekly, monthly for the next 2 years that I can put out in public into, in front of my target customer. Because like the other piece of this is like, just because you make the content doesn't mean that it gets seen by the people that you want it to get seen by. So you have to think about this as like, it's two edges of the same sword. Like I need to make it and I need to distribute it. And that's the only way that it makes impact for your business. But, again, to reiterate this, like thinking about, okay, for the next 2 years, what's the thing that I can do that I can make it weekly, daily, monthly, whatever that is, and then I can distribute it weekly, daily, monthly, whatever that is. That's how you're going to provide like impact to your business. Let's
go a little more specific too, because you said that you do a lot in the financial services industry.
Oh yeah, we have a bunch of users of Swell in particular. Like that's what they're doing, right? So it's like,
so tell me a little bit about how they're using it, because that's the industry I'm in, and totally. I'm actually mentoring and helping other, agents and advisors to learn strategies on how to create compliance friendly content, because that's always an issue in that industry, is the compliance part of it, right?
Totally.
So talk to me about that. How are they using it?
Yeah, so I think a lot of the times, like, again, they're tapping into the audience, like who are the people that are in their sphere that are already in public talking about things. Like, maybe it's like some CPA that specializes in agriculture or whatever. They're going to bring them in and like have a conversation with them. And maybe, it's not specific to their audience, but it's for a lot of this, like there's tons of people that are trying to be like position themselves as a thought leader within your industry. They already have a social following. They already have the presence. If you just give them a platform to come on and talk and be in front of your audience, like 9 times out of 10, they're going to say yes. Right. Yeah. And it's an easy lift for everybody. Like, it's like you show up and you have a conversation. So, I think that's one piece of it.
So podcasting, as they're using a lot of it.
Podcasting is crushing it, honestly, for anything that's like a high trust decision making. Like when you think about it, it's like you have these conversations right on a weekly basis that gets distributed to your audience. And I mean, if you have 5,000 people listening to you for an hour a week, I mean, think about when does that happen in the real world, where every week you're standing up in front of 5,000 people and having a like fireside chat with somebody. Like the average person isn't doing that, but that's what's actually happening here, right?
That's pretty powerful when you think about it.
Absolutely. Especially if they have like a lot, if they're business owners, they have a lot of purchasing power. Like people always get hung up on like the amount of views and how big it is. And I'm always trying to push back on that and be like, hey, like, I don't want 1 million people with only $1 to spend, right? Like I want 10,000 people with 500 grand to spend. And that audience, that 10,000 person audience, that's going to be way more valuable to me and to my company long-term if I can be in front of them. And again, if I can have that trust with them. So
quality over quantity.
There's no magic trick with this too. I think it's like a lot of people, they get like hung up on like, what's the current thing and what's like, this is a lifestyle choice. Like making content is a lifestyle choice, right? Like you show up every day, you do the work, and then like 12 months from now, you see the results. Like you're trying to lose 60 pounds.
Yeah.
It is. I eat healthy and work out for 12 months. And that's how I get there.
I think the same thing. I think a lot of people because of TikTok, they got TikTok famous, which means they were overnight viral successes. Right. There was a lot of that in the early days of TikTok. Right. And so they're given, I mean, especially I would imagine the younger generation, that's what they want. They want that. Right. And then they post something and they're like, oh, they didn't get that. And they're like,
or they don't buy from it. I mean, how many of these influencers that are like, TikTok famous or whatever, like, okay, cool. Like you're doing dances and like, but you try to go and sell something and you can't get a single sale to occur for your white labeled product that you just are, that you're hawking. Like, and that's another piece of this, right? Like, yeah, I might only have 1,000 like views on a podcast episode, right? But if 1,000 people are listening to me for an hour of time, like if I compare that to, again, 1 million people that have only seen me for 10 seconds, like where is the trust there from a purchasing decision standpoint? Like
absolutely. And they're really getting to know you, and
1,000%. Like you have to get in, like all of this that we're trying to do is get in relationship with people at scale. It's one-to-many sales, right? It's one-to-many like marketing. Like just getting like the TikTok thing, like, yeah, you can get like this fame, right? But like if that fame doesn't serve your business, you don't make any money off that. Like the average influencer, I just read the data makes like it's insane. It's like 30 grand a month, right? Like you could get that with like a entry level job. Like that is, what's actually happening here. And
30 grand a month?
30 grand a year.
Okay. Yeah. I was about to say, there are not a lot of entry level jobs at 30 grand a month, but
30 grand a year. Right. And if you think about that, like, okay, that is basically like a beginning salary, beginning job that you could go get.
Yeah. It's McDonald's, man. McDonald's, man.
So,
you know what I'm saying?
But they're not thinking about, okay, from the beginning, what is the product that I'm going to go sell? Right. And so you as a business owner, you're coming from the other perspective. I have this great product.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to figure out how to sell it. You're already going to win because you're starting from that origin point rather than just making content for the sake of content. So
right. I will say though, if I did ever go TikTok famous, okay, and I just blew up, I'll figure out how to monetize it. I'll promise you that.
Sure, but
I'll monetize that bad boy. Right?
Yeah. Totally.
I'll monetize that bad boy. I'll be like,
the average person has never started a company, right?
Yeah.
Like there's 200 million people in the U.S. that want to start a business. Like that's a majority of the people in the U.S. want to start a business. Only 9% of the U.S. has actually started a business in the past, right? It's like
I'll tell you though, as much as like it would be cool and all of that to just have that moment where you just explode, right? I know anything that's too quick typically it's not good for you. It's not good for you, man. Like You know, you win the lotto. That's kind of like what that is. If you go TikTok famous and boom, you know, all these, you know, millions and millions of people and all this stuff, you just blow up overnight success, which can happen in the social media world. Like we've seen it, but man, it's not sustainable, right? It can lead to a lot of trouble. You know, anyway, so, but if you progress over time, you learn to manage what comes with that, because there's a responsibility that comes with that. Just like if you win the lotto, there's a responsibility that comes with that, and a lot of people just don't know how to manage it. They don't know how to, you know, be responsible with it, honestly, and that's really what it comes down to. So I know you also have a podcast. Can we talk about that real quick?
Sure, yeah, we can go anywhere. I do have a hard stop just in a couple minutes. I just have my next thing, so
Yeah, no
just wanna
problem,
make
man.
sure
No
that-
problem. Matter of fact, why don't we do this? Plug your podcast real quick, and we'll go to the audience. We'll get maybe a question or two, and I'll let you fly, man. I know you're a busy guy.
No, appreciate it. Yeah, so honestly, it's just called In the Pit Podcast. What we're talking to is mainly just how to grow businesses. I'm obsessed with like two things. It's like how to grow companies and business ideas. And that's really what we go over on that place. But yeah, so that's there. I mean, the big thing though, and like what we're focused on is Swell AI and basically helping companies build these content engines for their businesses. This is something that you're just going to have to do. And so as we see this wave coming in, we're just like, all right, what's the easiest thing that we can give people for them to do that? But anyway, yeah.
I love it, man. I'm personally am going to check you out and dive deeper into Swell AI, because I think there's a lot of things you can do to help me too. So listen, man, I appreciate you. And, you know, thanks for being on the show. You guys need to go check out his podcast to learn more about how this guy can help 10x your business, take you to that next level using some efficiency, using some technology, some AI. Make your job easier, man. Make your life easier. Okay. Go connect with him. And again, Cody, really appreciate you being on the show.
Trevor, thank you for having me. It's been awesome, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. That's the show. It's all about who you know. Bye.